Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of the FM26 Journeyman, and this episode is The Rebuild Begins. If you haven't seen episode 11 at this point, please go back and check that one out. I'll link it in the description below. That was the perfect joining point for this Journeyman save so far if you haven't seen all of the previous videos, so definitely go and check that one out if you missed it. Also, a big welcome to any new viewers checking in for the first time today. So in today's episode, we're going to take a look back at what business we've managed to do, as well as how the closing stage of the Mexican Premier League has started. So firstly, let's have a look and see where we are. We are currently on the 3rd of February 2030, and we are sitting 7th in the Mexican closing stage league table. We've played 5 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, although the reality is we probably could have won all 5 of those with a little bit of luck either way. I think we out-XG'd the opposition in each game, and there's a couple of weird blips we had mid-games. Maybe it's just new team gelling and all that sort of stuff, but certainly the potential was there to have won all 5 so far. As you can see, we're also a game in hand on quite a few of the teams in the table. And there's a few that have only played 4 actually, but most teams are 5 or 6, with most of the guys above us actually here having played 6. So a win in our game in hand could potentially take us joint second. This is going to be a bit of a consolidation for us this second half of this first season though. As you can see, we're still predicted to finish 5th for this closing stage of the league season. However, in the opening stage, we were actually 11-1 to finish 5th. Now we've gone out 20-1. So I guess what the computer is suggesting is that our team has got slightly worse, and that might be the case. Once you see what we've done, it might not be quite as good now, but the potential may be better going forward. So maybe that's accurate. I don't know. The other thing to notice though is originally we only had Guzman in the Dream 11, the Media Dream 11. However, we've now got Jerez and Marcio in there too, so we have actually got 3 of the Media Dream 11, which really isn't too bad for a team that they're predicting to finish 5th, so I'm quite happy with that. As you can see, the objectives for us from the board are to reach the Mexican First Division closing stage quarter-final. Hopefully that won't be too much of an issue given that we managed that in the opening stage. Really, the expectations are quite mild for us this season. I think that's quite realistic. We are certainly a level below the top teams in this division. I think it's kind of like it's similar to in the Premier League when you haven't got European football. You can't really sign the elite players. And certainly in this league, where we need the top Mexican talent, we just can't get them until we get into that next bracket. Speaking of transfer history, this is how things look in terms of incomings and outgoings. We have spent a total of 36.5 million, bringing in 52 players. And in the same period, we have sold £42.5 million worth of players, which was made up of 15 players. So as you can see, we've sold more than we brought in, so we're in surplus in terms of making a profit on the window, which is good. However, we've also brought in a lot of players. Lots of them are young Mexican players who have got decent potential. Well, some have got quite high potential actually, but current ability is lacking. So they're in the youth teams. We'll see how they get on. Some of them won't develop; they'll just be sold. Others might make it to first team level. We need to keep up with this under 22 minutes played throughout the season, so lots of them will get opportunities. This does also include some business that was done before I arrived at the club. For example, Enes Unal, Alistair Johnston, these kinds of guys were all here before I joined and started making any changes. In fact, some of them have now left the club, so they've lasted less than a year, but I've just done a bit of an overhaul. So at first team level, this is the squad that we've now got. In terms of starting 11, there's still quite a few from the first half of the season. Tapia in goal was here. Araujo on loan was also here. Guzman, our captain, sadly he's had his release clause met, but he's still currently here. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Diego Lainez, quite a famous Mexican player, is still here. 29 years old, but he's been doing alright for us, to be fair, considering he's a three-star current ability player. For reference, 3 stars in this team is leading for the Mexican League, so we've got a good team here. Brought in some very nice players, some good young talent, most of which have cost peanuts, really, comparably to a lot of the stuff that was getting thrown our way, agent driven, all that kind of stuff. Scouts will find a lot of very expensive players, but we've really kept it quite minimal spending. Mainly being because we're going to have to spend the big bucks to bring in the better Mexican players when we can actually attract them, which is going to be the biggest issue going forward, I would imagine, in this part of the Journeyman save. The bench, as you would imagine, is still predominantly made up of under 22 Mexican players. We need to get the minutes in. We are managing to do that so far. We've managed 403 under 22 minutes from 5 games so far, targeting 63 minutes a match to stay above the point deduction rule from last season, or from the first half of the season. We definitely don't want to fall foul of that rule again, so that is really important. We're now totally shut for domestic and international signings coming in. I don't entirely know for sure what that means for this bid on Guzman. They've met his release clause and he's apparently unhappy at the club, so presumably he will want to leave and will choose to leave. I'm just unsure whether that will mean he leaves during this closing stage of the Mexican League season or whether it will be at the next sort of international transfer window opening. I'm not entirely sure. It goes without saying though that it'll be a huge impact if he does leave. He's one of our 3 best players in terms of star rating. He's also our best Mexican player, and the next alternative to play his spot in central defence that's Mexican is Juan Carlos Flores, who's only a 2.5 star current ability. And to be perfectly honest, is just generally miles off his level. So whilst Guzman hasn't played incredibly the whole time that I've been manager, he certainly seems to have been steady enough that we will miss his presence if he goes. Whether he actually stays with us for the rest of this closing stage season will probably have quite a big impact on how we're able to do in the league and our form, really, because we are quite light in just top level Mexican players. Like we just can't attract them. So yeah, it's a big impact. So we'll see how that pans out. There's a couple of other players in the reserves that are also currently ongoing bids and moves and stuff. So nothing's totally finalised yet, but we're sort of getting there in terms of everything being closed for the rest of the season. One of the key objectives, though, in this window, with this sort of first stage of the rebuild, was to really bring down the average age of the squad. So it's quite interesting now, looking through the season previews, that we've got the youngest squad in the entire division by quite a considerable margin, actually. If you look through here, so we've got Montra here, squad average age 25. Let's just quickly whiz through. Cruz Azul 25, Pumas 26, Club America 27, us all the way down to 21 now, so we've got a very young average age squad. Pachuca 27, Chivas 27, Toluca 27, Leon 27, Santos, thanks FM, 27, Tijuana 27, Atlas 24, who I believe are the next lowest after us. Necaxa 26, Juarez 26, San Luis 26, Puebla 25, and Querétaro also 25, and Mazatlan 27. So we are considerably the youngest team in the league. Obviously, that is hugely driven by this huge chunk of players we've got here. Probably 2/3 of the first team squad are under 22, so that is obviously a huge part of it. Most of these guys have got very good potential, so I'm going to give them as many minutes as we can and hopefully boost all these guys up to the sort of 2.5, 3-star current abilities, or better if we can, before the end of the season. We want to see some improvements to these guys, which hopefully gives us some integration options for the first team if we decide to mix things up in the summer window. In terms of the best players in the squad and the sort of best signings we can focus on, one of the very first guys I bought in the international transfer window in that first opening stage was Marcio. Young Brazilian winger, we got him for 325k. He looks pretty decent, but he plays exceptionally. He's really good at taking players on, good flair, very good physicals, good dribbling, good technique, so you can quite often see him just beat his man and he gets snapped a lot. But he's winning us fouls in dangerous areas. He's chipped in with some good goals and assists, so he's got 9 goal contributions in his 18 appearances so far. We also signed Victor Jerez, a Chilean central midfielder. Well, that's where I'm playing him. He's quite versatile. Currently 3.5 star, leading first division ability. We're playing him as a deep-lying playmaker. Key thing here is 18 determination. I also wanted to get some long shot options into the team because we're playing that sort of possession-based tiki-taka style. We're getting a lot of ball around the edge of the box. I'm hoping he can chip in with a few goals throughout the rest of the season. He's only 19, hopefully quite a lot of improvements coming in, and he started off really well so far in his 5 games with 2 goals and 2 assists from deep line playmaker. Cannot sniff at that. And probably the biggest signing we've made is Stefanos Tsitsipas, the Greek striker from Brighton. He was running out of contract in the summer window, so we agreed a contract with him to sign him on a free in the summer. And as you do in FM now, we got the option to buy now, and I thought I'd check out and see what the price was. They came back with 2.6 million, and to be honest, to have him in for this whole half a season chunk we've got now in the closing stage made total sense. I don't mind paying a little bit of money to have him in now early. We were struggling for top level players. He's come in as one of our 3 best players immediately, and he's scored 5 goals in 5 with an assist too, so 6 goal contributions in his first 5 appearances. He has got a 25 million pound release clause. You could imagine that may well get triggered if he carries on in this kind of form for the rest of the season. But even so, if that happens, we'll just invest and rebuild. But certainly he's the one to look out for probably for the rest of this season. He's looked really quality, lots of nice touches, some nice dribbles, great take-ons, quite a bit of skill actually. I wasn't expecting that. But he does have decent flair and technique, so maybe that's where it's coming from. Okay, so where does that leave us? We are currently sort of mid-rebuild here. This is not the finished article by any means. We've got a lot of work to do. I think a lot is going to depend on how we can progress throughout the rest of the season. The aim is to at least finish 5th, which is our sort of predicted position. If we can scrape into one of those top positions, hopefully we can get a little reputation boost and we can start signing some of those better Mexican players who only really want to seem to go to the top couple of teams. So that's going to be the key for this. If they won't join for us in the summer, we're just going to have to keep building with what we've got probably. Keep picking up some good youth options, maybe look to get a couple of high reputation players that can come in and replace lower rated foreign players in our team, because we're only allowed 9 non-Mexican born players in the squad, so we have to be really careful with that. We need to have a certain amount in the matchday squad that are Mexican born, and we need to meet the under 22 minutes played quota. So it's quite a difficult set of situations to balance when you can't attract the top Mexican talent. So we've got to be really careful about how we do it. I think we're going to be tight this season, but okay. Hopefully Guzman doesn't leave imminently. If it happens, then obviously Flores will have to step in. Then we'll call up a youngster to sit on the bench as our backup central defender. But yeah, we're going to push as hard as we can with the group of players we've got till the end of the season. Try and stay compliant so we don't get a 3-point fine again. Make sure we don't get any financial fines for the average points in the league. I think the bottom 3 for average points get massive fines, so we don't want to be involved in that either. We are thin in places squad-wise. We've not got game-changing depth off the bench particularly. We've got depth that is involving in giving minutes to young players essentially, so this is not the finished article this season. In case anyone was wondering, we are sticking with the 4-2-4. It's been working nicely, had good possession, creating good chances. The players are getting decent familiarity with it. They're starting to know each other. Obviously, we've got a lot of relationships to build with quite a big churn of players in this sort of opening half a season, and hopefully some progress on some of these players too, so we'll see some improvement. Let me know what you think of the rebuild so far. Any recommendations? Have you managed in Mexico? How did you find it? What do you think of Tsitsipas so far? Did you enjoy the goals? Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know how you think we got on with the start of the rebuild at Tigres. Hope you enjoyed this brief intro to what we've been working on. The next episode we'll go over some gameplay and introduce you to the squad. Enjoy your week guys, and see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.